Thank you for joining us tonight in a celebration for Jordeen Chang and Natasha Gubernov. They are exhibiting at Virtual Coffee until December 2nd. Now, a little introduction to our Art in Neighborhoods program for those who aren't familiar. It was initiated in 2018 with the intention of facilitating spontaneous artful discoveries by locals and tourists alike. These venues are not your typical white-walled galleries and museums, but rather spaces we frequent as busy urbanites, including cafes, restaurants, activity centers, and community centers. With the goal of bolstering our artist community with exposure and potential art sales, this program also intends to bring an influx of business to the participating venues. As you are aligned with ArtSpan, you are aligned with our community-driven mission to keep arts alive in San Francisco. Please note, as we are going through the reception, please take yourself off on mute, or sorry, put yourself on mute to make sure we get no disturbances while the artists are speaking. We are gathered to celebrate Jordeen and Natasha's art, which is at Ritual Coffee until December 2nd. This hip cafe is a sleek spot to enjoy seasonal espresso and elevated pastries. Stop by to view the works in person and enjoy the buzzy energy of the Mission neighborhood. To view works from the comfort of your home, visit our dedicated online gallery, link available now in the chat. All right, we're gonna bring on our first artist, Ms. Jordeen Chang. Hello, Jordeen.
Hello.
Welcome, excuse me, oh, sorry. There we go. This is Jordeen's information. You can visit her Etsy shop and follow her on Instagram. Thank you so much for participating and being an artist at Ritual.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Jordeen's work centers on finding your inner peace through colorful and soothing landscapes filled with forest creatures and whimsy. So Jordeen, I love that you create art to escape to a happy place. Have you always been a creative person?
I wasn't like one of those kids that you think about when you say like they've always been obsessed with art, like they were drawing since they were 4 and like never stopped. But looking back, like I've always found ways to be creative, like experimenting with different materials, and like I loved going to Michael's and like trying different things there. I'm also an only child, so I think a lot of it also came from just being bored. But I think that kind of like playfulness has carried me to my adult life now. And so I do a lot of like, not besides painting, I do other things, and I love experimenting with like different materials. But yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'm an only child too, so I understand it's just something that you to keep busy as a child.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. How do you balance your full-time job in tech with your art practice?
Yeah, I mean, having a full-time job is really draining, but I think I definitely recharge with doing art. I'm also really grateful for my job because it gives me like the financial freedom to be able to take classes and like build up that art school experience that I never got to have. So it's great to have that money, I guess. And also not have the pressure of making art for money. So I think I kind of have the luxury there. But right now I'm actually on my sabbatical because after you work for 5 years at your company, at this company, you get 3 months off. And so I'm just enjoying that and doing a bunch of art and like, yeah. So that's like a perk, I guess, of having a job.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Yeah. You have the resources to fulfill other passions. And
yeah, for sure.
This is just a creative hobby that you just really balances out your life. And I love that.
Yeah. Hopefully I can make it more one day, but for now, yeah.
Yeah, cool. How did you discover that watercolor and gouache was your go-to media to capture such delightful work?
It definitely started out of convenience, just because watercolor, it's so easy to start. You don't need like a huge setup, especially like my first like apartment out of college was like I just had one room to myself and I didn't have like the right ventilation or like the right space to set up like a whole easel and everything. But as time went on, like I just got used to the medium, and then now I just love it. Granted, I do want to venture more into acrylics now that I do have space. So we'll see where that takes me.
Cool. Yeah, awesome. I think you've harnessed the the complexities of watercolor really well. When I talk to other artists and I say like, oh, I like to work with watercolor, they go, ooh, that can get iffy, or like it could get, it's just it has its idiosyncrasies that it's hard to kind of get used to. So I think you've really captured, or you've harnessed that watercolor power very well. So kudos to you. Did you infuse your paintings with feelings and thoughts to diffuse any mental struggles?
I think, yeah, I think the purpose of my painting is to help you like step out of your mind a little bit. It's like kind of forcing you to look at your life from like a third person's point of view. And this feeling is like something that I have the most when I'm at like a national park, when you're still you're still holding on to like your fears and like your dreams, but you're just in a different place, and it kind of changes your thought process, and it just makes you look at your life a little bit differently. But yeah, and I'm not like an advocate for total escapism. Like you're still you. And that's why I like to keep the blob buddy, the little pink creature that's in all my paintings, like kind of stoic, like he never smiles. Because he's not like, he does not forgetting about everything.
Yeah. This is the last one of your collection of 6 at Ritual Coffee right now. And here's a little blob buddy here. Do you have any specific commentary on a certain piece within the 6 that we have up?
Nothing specific. I think they're all just different like places in my imaginary world. And yeah, I hope you guys like them.
What kind of paper do you use?
I use Arches, like the cold pressed, really thick paper. Yeah.
Yes. Excellent.
It's really great to work with, but it feels really bad when you accidentally mess up something.
Oh God. You're like, that was $10 for a sheet.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much for answering my questions. Do we have any questions in the chat?
Brent Hayden says he loves this piece.
Hey.
Thanks,
yeah.
Thanks, Brent. Yeah. I think one of my favorite pieces is, give me one second, is this one, Buoy Boy. Yeah, I love that you took the color to the frame of the piece as well. And I love that you framed it out.
Definitely something different. This one also doesn't have a lot of animals in it, or any at all. But I do really like pulling the paint all the way to there too, to the end.
Yeah, Jason?
There is a question from Ethan.
Okay.
Ethan Walker says, what's the deal with Blob Buddy?
What's the deal? I mean, he's just there. He's just like a little guy who's kind of like wandering in these world by himself. He's not like a happy-go-lucky person, I would say. Maybe it's like a self-reflection for myself, but yeah, I don't really know how he came to be. I don't really remember the process for that. I think I just drew it once, and then I was like, oh, this is great, and then I put him everywhere.
Great. And there's one more question from Rachel. It says, what advice would you give to a person who has just started with watercolor? And please share your wisdom.
Oh, I don't know if I have wisdom per se, but I think experimenting is definitely, I think the more you work with something, the better it is. I have taken some classes. I forgot to mention that I used to do Chinese watercolor, but it's very, very different, I would say. It's way more free flowing than what I do now. Like you kind of have one shot at getting something right, because the paper just absorbs the ink so well. But yeah, I think with really nice paper and just like some fun paints you have, as long as you practice, you'll eventually get the hang of it. I'm sorry, that's not very specific.
Well, I think it's a great piece of advice, is that practice makes perfect, and you really just need to just stay consistent when you're working on something new, because you're going to go through struggles of figuring things out, and how certain papers absorb the pigment differently, and how there's different flows and consistencies between different brands of pigments. And there's also a formal technique of actually stretching out your paper so that it stays flat and doesn't ripple, and it's able to absorb the water and the pigment at a high capacity. So there's always room to grow, and I think the best advice, because I work from watercolor too, is the best advice. Just keep working on it. Watercolor is really fun to use, and visit, or there's quite a few art classes happening around the city, either virtually or possibly in person. So check out those opportunities, because there's always creative journeys is just beginning. There's always room to explore, and just like how Jordeen did with her work here. So thank you so much. Yeah, I'm gonna do a last call on questions. Going once, going twice. Okay, thank you, Jordeen. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Okay, and we're gonna move on to our next artist, Natasha Gubernov. Hi, Natasha.
Hi, can
Hi,
you hear me
hello.
now better?
I can. Natasha Gubernov is a interdisciplinary artist, and her exhibited work is focused on how certain colors, textures, and shapes are tied to our memories and emotions. So Natasha, your artwork is really approachable in terms of color and texture. What was the inception of your Soul of a Gum series?
Directly related to anything in particular. I just really interested in like capturing emotions.
Mhm.
I grew up in a poor country. I'm originally from Russia, and it was a Soviet Union when I was still was in Soviet Union when I was born. So we didn't have much access to like things like toys, and I didn't have those colors like pinks and blues. All of that is representation of Western culture, everything I didn't have as a child. We had like more, I don't know, green kind of I was raised like in a small military town. So like I used to greens, and we were surrounded by woods. And I used to collect gum wrappers.
Okay.
So I guess gum was some of the things sometimes we had access to, but it was like very rare, or maybe somebody would like brought it from other countries. Yeah, so I guess I have some influence from that time.
Mm-hmm.
And people say a lot about my work, that it's reminds them food, and I'm actually love looking at pastries and all this like baking goods. I don't know, but I don't actually eat any sugar. But I can go to bakery and just look at this. Like, I don't know, it's just something about the texture and colors.
Mm-hmm. It's quite beautiful.
And I wasn't doing any art as a child. I didn't draw or anything like that. But I did photography all my life.
Nice. So what is your process like? And do you usually use a palette knife?
Yes, and actually prepared.
Aha.
This is one of my biggest ones.
Wow. And that's how you apply the paint?
I have a lot of like variety. It's not all, but that's all I prepared.
Yeah, that's incredible. So do you load up the paint on the knife usually, and then you just kind of scrape it on?
Yeah, I use light molding paste. I also prepared for this. Mm-hmm. So I use buckets of this stuff, and I mix it with paint. It's all acrylic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yes, and then I use like palette knives.
Excellent. Yeah.
And I layer and layer and layer.
Yeah, you do.
I'm happy with it.
I love the little pockets of color that shine through. The specific one here is just that little pink and magenta coming through in that middle area. within the blue space. And I love that you can see the layers of the gum and how it's been like accrued onto the surface. And I think it's a really wonderful detail.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking about it, like, you know, as a child, you have like all small treasures, like collecting things, all of that. I don't know. That's kind of remind me of that.
You included some glitter into this piece, and that's a great little detail that I didn't notice at first until I saw them in person, and like saw that little. It's just a little extra pizzazz to break up the almost matte looking gum paint. So that's a great little addition. I think it didn't detract. It really actually it adds to the piece. So that's a great choice.
Thank you. I love experimenting with different texture. And I know if you ever heard, like in Seattle, there's like a gum ball, just like a wall, and there's like a lot of gum stuck to it.
Exactly.
So sometimes I think about that, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so another question for you. You are an interdisciplinary artist, like I said earlier. And what other media do you work with beyond paint?
So ceramic, as you can see in the background. Well, but recently I actually not doing any ceramics right now with the pandemic. I had to give that up. So, but I move on to doing some augmented reality.
Ooh.
Yes. So if you go to my Instagram, you can find some filters. They're not usual like face mask or anything. They're like, I'm taking more artist approach to that, and I love working with that. I love technology. I used to work in technology. And actually also, I'm kind of starting doing that NFT thing. And I've even participating in real life exhibition, which is just all NFTs. It's going to be, and started, I think it's starting on Monday. It's in New York Gallery. You also can find that information on my website.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I love that you're into AR and NFTs and expanding what we see in person to that on a screen and kind of changing what is reality visually. So, yay, creating a technological creative atmosphere. It's very cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's my childhood, and like we didn't have much, and now it's like so much, and I just like want to try everything.
Yeah, definitely. I love that you're pushing boundaries on that and combating what you experienced and kind of reworking that to like a brighter creative future. Very fantastic.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions in the chat for Natasha?
I'll put away my palette knife.
Nick, I don't see any. I'm looking.
No worries. Yeah.
Please, let's see it. Maybe.
Well, if anyone is brave enough.
Someone did say, Jordeen said, can I see the ceramics pieces up close?
Oh yeah, but bring them on.
Okay. I'm afraid to move or to make noises. Okay. I'll prepare a couple pieces so I can show them. Okay. Let's start with funky one.
Oh, nice. Look at that texture.
Yes, actually in ceramics, it's very hard to get pinks. I don't know if anyone familiar like with temperature, but it's like cons 6. It's very high temperature. It's just like pink doesn't survive. So it took me a while to figure out all those colors. I love textures. That's not your traditional ceramic.
No.
Yeah.
This is the new Fabergé A.
My teacher, that cup was made by my teacher.
Oh, nice.
So he was always like, what are you doing? Like, like traditional, but he's very traditional.
Mm-hmm. Well, it looks like you forged your own pathway in with ceramics.
Yes,
Yeah.
I know I love a good challenge. So this piece also uses rare earth pigments. So under different lights, kind of change the color a little bit to like a blue. Unfortunately, like I don't have like different lighting. I think it's like fluorescent light.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I
Awesome.
experimented with that like right before pandemics. I didn't have like that much time, but hopefully someday in the future, maybe in San Francisco.
Great.
So,
yeah. And I could help recommend you some spaces too. We have some resources on our end if you are looking to re-expand into the ceramic sphere.
yeah, when I get like settled, you know,
Mm-hmm.
when I like finish all my personal matters and completely move on, that would be something.
Great. Yeah, definitely. Do we have any questions in the chat now? If not, we'll do a Q&A portion shortly. You can hold your questions until then. Okay, I would like to thank our artists, Jordeen and Natasha, once again. You can enjoy their work from the comfort of your home on our dedicated virtual art gallery, or you can head over to Ritual Coffee in the Mission District on Valencia Street. Their hours are listed here, and their artwork will be up until December 2nd, 2021. I am now going to open the floor, and we are going to put ourselves onto gallery view here, just so we can say hello to everyone. How's it going, everyone? Thank you for showing up and participating and attending our artist reception. Please take yourself off, turn on your video, say hello. She's got a wonderful painting in the Open Studios exhibition, as does Natasha. And Brent has a really cool piece in the exhibition as well. No one's brave enough to say hello to the artist. Oh my gosh. Well, I have a couple questions to both of you. Have you had any happy accidents that are now a mainstay in your practice? And Jordeen can go first.
Happy accidents. Actually, I started a like I also do ceramics now. I think that takes up a lot of my time now. So Natasha, if you want to do ceramics, I go to Clay Room in Soma, and I really love it there. But I started a series of like 100 frogs in hats, and that started by accident because I was just like, I was making my business card, and then I drew like a frog that I really liked, and then I wanted to like add something to him. And then I asked like my followers on Instagram, like, what should I add? It was like a hat or like mittens or a sweater, and they all voted for hat. So then I drew him again with hats. And then I was like, I should turn this into ceramics. And so now I have 100 that I have to make.
Oh, just 100 frogs. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, kind of a lofty goal, but it's okay.
I love it. Yeah, sorry before you answer, Natasha, I just want to interject real quickly that Clay Room is actually really close to the ArtSpan offices in Soma, and that's where our exhibition is. So it's really cool that you're supporting a local ceramic space.
Yeah, I know that they also were part of the Open Studios that happened in October, right? Yeah, beginning of October. Yeah.
I think we have a question for Natasha from Ethan. Ethan's curious about what you said about your use of colors in Russia versus here. Can you tell him more?
I only started painting with acrylics, I think 2018, and I moved to United States in 2015. So I've actually started with watercolor like a little bit before I moved here, just like maybe half a year after I did. Like then I moved here. I didn't have like anything, not even a table or like paints and all of that. And I live in suburbs, so it was like very complicated. I couldn't go like without a car anywhere, so I didn't do much art. And then at some point, I started again. When I could go out, finally, I took a bunch of classes. I took like beginner, like driving one, painting one, and I signed up for continuing education classes at Art Institute of Chicago. And there I've tried my acrylics. So going back to like Russia colors, and I didn't really like paint it in Russia much. So I used like some watercolor, but other like colors I experienced as a child, they weren't pastel. I know in the United States, it's kind of references like Art Deco, which I love too, you know, like 80s. But in my childhood, there wasn't colors like that. If I saw those colors, they were on TV. We used to watch a TV show, I think it was Beverly Hills 90. I'm trying to remember because I need to translate it in my head. The number, the zip code, 9210 something. But like all this like lifestyle is just like, I don't know, it was something out of this world. Like I couldn't like imagine anything like that because we were like so closed down, you know, like country. I didn't even had a Barbie when I was a child. Like, I had like a doll, but it wasn't original Barbie.
Oh, are you referring to Beverly Hills?
Yes.
90210?
Yes.
Amazing. Yay. I love that. We found your source.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like all this like California and Miami. Mm-hmm. I love these colors, but I'm not directly like influenced by that. It's just like a culture, like all that, like Western culture in general, like prosperity. Yes.
I want to show everyone your gum wrappers that I failed to show earlier. But here we are. Is there some gum wrappers that Natasha has collected?
Yes, I asked my father to scan them for me. I really want to get them.
So this is great to see like something from your childhood and something that was a motivating factor to what you create now and what we're enjoying here.
Yes, like I didn't even know until like recently I looked into that and I was like so happy I saved them, you know. Mm-hmm. Because I was asking myself why I'm doing this, you know, like you need to write an artist statement.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was thinking about this a lot and this come up, I'm like, oh my God.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from our guests or our artists? Any brave attendees to say hi, give a compliment? Jason?
You know, unless someone else has one, you please feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question. Otherwise, I'll ask mine. And it's really interesting, I have to say, for hearing Natasha that you had so little, your words, you had almost nothing, and then now you have so much, it's almost too much. So that's super interesting, just as a cultural experience. And then I wanted to say, like, same question for Jordeen, like, can you relate to that with your own, like, what informed you that you didn't have that maybe now you have? I mean, you talked about your full-time job too, but like, I guess like same kind of, is there a theme there that you?
Yeah. I think it's maybe for me, it was the idea that that pursuing art was even a possibility. That wasn't something that I had ever really thought of. And I don't think it's very yeah, like as growing up with like parents who like came to America to like learn, and they're both like engineers, I think it was very yeah, it was just very taboo, I guess, to have like an art career. So in terms of like yeah, why I do it now, maybe it's just because I didn't have the luxury before to even think about it, and so now I'm like, woo, like let's take all the classes, let's do all the things. But yeah.
Nice.
And I wanted to connect you two because you both have a connection with tech, watercolor, and now ceramics that
Yeah.
it just unfolded as we discussed your work, and it was so great to see that, you know, I chose you two out of many submissions for this exhibition, and I'm so happy that there was beautiful similarities, not only in color, but also like your background and your creative process, and that's just a really cool note I wanted to point out.
Yeah, I love that we both do ceramics. It's so fun.
Also, my parents are engineers, like regular engineers, not software, like there wasn't any at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah, I feel like it's like that's something that they kind of had to do, but I think now maybe we have more. They built us the foundation so that we can do more of what we kind of want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I also can relate. I never thought like I can be an artist, and also in Russian culture, it's kind of you told like it's like you have to have a talent, and they're like,
Yeah.
or like you're too old. Like all my life, I thought like it's too late.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so I started advertising. I now I'm thinking just because that's closest like thing what I could do, like related to art, and it's kind of like in between. But I never really work in the advertising. I started like also with technology because my father like was influencing that part of decision. Yeah, and now look at me.
Yeah.
Doing so much art.
Well, we can't wait for you to get settled back in San Francisco so you're not back and forth. And I know you're working out your personal details, so hopefully that goes out smoothly. And we have your creative, beautiful energy in this art in our beautiful city. And yeah, it'll be great to see your ceramics or have your AR and like, I don't know, drink.
Well, AR you can see now.
Yeah, awesome. A last call for questions or compliments or comments on for our artists here. Hi, Miley. We can't hear you. Thumbs up for Miley. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Our team would like to thank you all for attending our virtual reception tonight. As we navigate through these uncertain times, we are committed to continuing our efforts of connecting artists to the public. In the meantime, I would like to propose a toast to our artists, Jordeen and Natasha, for a lovely conversation and reception celebrating your creative achievements. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.